Hi, we are live. Welcome to the Green Party podcast series. I'm your host, Edie Arndell, and my guest tonight is Chibu Asonye. Welcome, Chibu. How you
Hi,
doing?
thank you for. I'm doing very well. Happy Tuesday, a good Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Yeah. So we got a lot to talk about tonight. I'm so glad you sent me some things to discuss because we could just go on and on and on. One thing I wanted to mention was early voting starts on the
September
September.
26th.
Yeah, and if you go to, I think I have it here. Oh, there it is, right there. And you can find out where to go in your town. And also, there's weeks in, like almost a whole week in October, I think starting around the 11th. But you can go and check it out. Just click on voter information and they'll tell you what to do. Yeah, and also you can be an election judge. But anyway, so I think that's very important. Plus, you can make a little money. Yeah.
Uh,
So you wanted to discuss the AOC stuff. That was first and foremost.
yes, these are not in particular order. Hey everyone, I'm Chibu Asonye. Thank you for the invitation to be on here again. I'm a part of the Illinois Green Party. I'm a candidate for United States House Representatives for Illinois District 13. For Congress, I'll be a writing candidate along with Dr. Bill Stein and several other people in Illinois that we're going to be writing in. And so, yes, please get registered to vote and then vote. I was actually 2022, I was an election judge. I worked twice. I was like, I want to be useful, but I always I do early voting because I don't like the lines and worrying about those things. And so I was like, how do I do something on election day, but be mindful of, being a good steward and voting early and stuff. And someone was like, you should be an election judge. That might be fun. You just stay in the same place all day. And that's exactly what you do. It's a fun, kind of boring is the hope.
Do they bring you snacks? I hope.
No. So the place I was, the place I was like a gymnasium. In the larger, so I'm on the University of Illinois campus. One of the places on campus is a gym, like their big gym area, and so they just blocked off one of the side rooms that had like a side entrance. And no, so we had to they told us to bring our own food, and they said bring enough food for the whole day because you can't leave.
Like, I'm gonna jump out for lunch for just a minute. They're like, no, you can't.
No, you can't. You don't even order food. Bring all your food. That's
Wow.
just so I'm sure in other spaces that are fun and like well funded or so they may, or like volunteers will, if you have a lot of people, there's only 3 of us, so I'm not surprised there wasn't a lot of people that even came to vote in that because it was the primary, not a general election.
Yeah, so it's probably a different amount of people. I signed up to do it for the first time, and one thing that really upset me is in Illinois, you have to say Democrat or Republican. And I
Yes.
said, wait, what? I said, that doesn't seem right. Show me where it says that. And they showed me.
Mm-hmm.
They said, if I want more information, I have to call Springfield. But that's okay because we're going to get some percentage, and we're going to be right in there with the other two before long.
That part.
We're gonna beat them.
Yes. I cannot wait to taste the sweet satisfaction of electing Greens in Illinois and like a lot of us. So there's a presence and they say, who are your allies? Well, 1, 2, and 3. So we're each other's allies. There's more than just one of us.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of people don't even know they're green until you tell them what we're about.
Yep. Even in Illinois, like since you have to register Democrat or Republican for the primaries, people also don't realize that, like in theory, you're supposed to be able to register as a green in Illinois as well. So it's like official, it's a green card. But I have yet to figure out how to do that. I just know that people are like, well, I always vote green, so automatically it means that. But those are two different things of being registered as a particular party and then just having to vote one particular way.
Okay. Yeah. And technically, we should have a green primary ballot, right?
Yeah,
I mean, when we
that would
start
be cool.
getting huge, we'll have a primary. I mean, we had one. Jill won.
We
But,
did. We did have a primary, unlike some other political parties.
that people just get appointed.
Yeah, which goes along with the AOC thoughts. Have you? Well, I guess to summarize for any folks who maybe haven't been following, but Representative from New York, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she has been in the social medias of Twitter and Instagram, really making it clear that Green Party, that she is not in alignment with the Green Party. She thinks that we are, as a larger collective, not helpful for this particular election. She thinks we're going to be spoilers, that we're not serious. And she was pinpointing and picking on, I would say, Dr. Jill Stein, who's the presidential candidate for the Green Party, of saying, you know, she only comes every 4 years. The Green Party needs to basically take a lane. And that's why I was like, I have thoughts I want to share with other people. It's frustrating. You know, Illinois and New York are two of the hardest places to get ballot access as a third party. AOC is someone who my community in, you know, progressive Illinois District 13, they're like, yes, be like AOC. And AOC is essentially saying, if you're not a Democrat, we actually don't want you to consider running because we don't want dissent and we don't want something different. And so that's what gets so frustrating of we're not going to change the rules. We're going to be upset that it's hard for you to get on the ballot and it's hard for you to get media attention, but we're also not going to change any rules to make it easier for you to get ballot access or for you to get media attention.
Them for the worse, because it went from, what was it, 15,000 in New York to 45,000?
Yes.
They'll change them in their favor. You know? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They will change it for their favor. Agreed.
And one thing I would say is she was talking about, well, she hasn't won anything. Well, that's not true. But however, you won your seat, but what have you done since you've been there? I can't think of a thing. She abandoned every principle she had, everything she got elected on. And there's a photograph running around of her where she was campaigning for a Green Party candidate. So she's kind of full of it.
She knows the playing field. She doesn't want to admit it.
Huh?
I said she knows the playing field, and she definitely doesn't want to admit it. They changed the rules, and she just got co-opted. It feels like that's why I don't want to be a reformist in the Democratic Party. Bless the lovely hearts of the Democrats in my community, but I see what happens when you actually get into seats of power. She also broke a railroad strike, which not cool.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I mean, if you're inside the Democratic Party, you have to bend the knee to the heads of it. I mean, they won't allow you to change them. They're too powerful. They have too much money. The only way to change them is to beat them.
That part.
We're working for them.
Yeah, definitely a silver lining is the AOC comments, the Breakfast Club interview, normie people who are just like or even my friends, and I send them the interviews. They say, oh, she's well-spoken. I like what she's saying. I align with these values. I didn't realize, like, where can I see more of her? So even with all the shade that AOC is sending our way, you know, we're still making some lemonade.
Exactly. I got a kick out of right after that happened. She was being sassy towards Jill, you know. So I found her Facebook, I think it was, or Instagram, and I went on there and I just said, this is a little bit spicy, like kind of mocking her. And I said, when you support a genocide, that's pretty vile, or I can't remember what I said.
That is spicy.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Like just changing the words, I mean, what she's doing is terrible. I mean, she's not really fighting for anyone anymore. She's fighting for her own seat.
She's fighting to stay in the seat and have that visible looking of wielding power, but not really having that power. At least I'm not seeing the particular tangibles that I
Yeah.
would like to see different.
Yeah. What happens to Medicare for all, or just anything? I don't know of anything that she's gotten done.
Remember that child tax credit that used to be there? Now it's gone because the Democrats said we're going to write into law an expiration date for something that we know will end childhood poverty.
So what was that tax credit for?
There was a temporary child tax credit that came in with the Inflation Reduction Act during the COVID times, which gave cash back to parents that had children under the age of 18 or 18 under or something like that. But it reduced childhood poverty by half in like a certain amount of time. Unfortunately, it lapsed because it written into the law was an expiration date, which was sometime last year, 2 years ago. Yeah, because we're 3 years in?
Yeah. I mean, how can we expect them to care about children if they send bombs to kill them overseas?
They will not care about our children, correct.
Or us, for that fact. Yeah, the Breakfast Club interview, I haven't sat down to watch it, but I've seen lots of clips. The one thing that stood out to me was when Butch was talking about the weaponization of Blackness.
Mm-hmm.
See that? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's fair. The concept, so I'm Nigerian American, and it comes up a lot of like the Black Miss leadership class and this like Black bourgeoisie. And it also comes from, and so when Bush was talking about how people will weaponize their Blackness, people will try to take on, not even like, and even also, it's also other people are trying to weaponize Kamala Harris's Blackness in favor of that like white supremacy of the status quo. Something that I noticed was people saying that the interview was on the right side of Angela Rye, who was the more of a combatant. They said like there wasn't any other Black person on that team, completely erasing the fact that Butch himself is a Black man.
Well, I mean, if that's the only criteria, and you're not representing even the Black community or any of us, you're just saying, see who I am, and that's my entry ticket. I mean, Kamala never really had the American Black experience. She came in, her parents on visas to go straight to college. She kind of had a privileged life, is what I learned.
That's what I see. That's how I see it as well. And I also have the experience as a Nigerian American. I think that when we think of the importance of reparations and ensuring that it goes like directly to American descendants of slaves and like that lineage, even Kamala Harris she doesn't have a plan for reparations. The Green Party does. Mm-hmm. Stein and Ware do. I love grammar. And I really wish that that in these like more elitist Black spaces that tend to be more Democrat in this particular instance, where they're going to be more hostile towards Greens and to the people who are more revolutionary, more left, they'll stay. We always want you to be more like Malcolm, more like MLK than like Malcolm X, but they forget that that MLK was a whole radical that was jailed several times.
I know. And one thing that they like to to say, well, at the DNC convention, they had the suffragettes being represented in their white dresses. And I'm like, the suffragettes at that time would have been outside with the pro-Palestinian protesters. They would have been inside in the bubble just saying, oh, it's so great to be a woman.
Also, if depending on how far back we want to go to the suffragettes, they didn't act. I love that. When I was a kid, I learned they're like, they didn't want Black people to have the rights. They were like, some white women were upset that Black men can vote and they can't as white people who happen to be women. And so like the idea of somehow, like I was like, that's so cute. That's so nice. It's so whitewashy. Like, come on, sis, this is the real world. I don't know what history and what life that you've been living, but in this reality right here, nah, something has to change. Something has to go. Something has to give.
Yes, something has to give. Yeah. I mean, well, they have it, so why can't I have it? So, it's the whole divide and conquer thing that they're still doing to us now.
Yes, the austerity politics. We can't all have it, but somehow the little crumb that we are trying to fight amongst ourselves, there's a whole pot of pie somewhere else that you can't see, but is there, because that's where else are you getting the crumb from?
Exactly. I smell it. I just can't taste it.
I smell it in the air. I just want the burnt remains.
The corner here.
Yeah. So the Breakfast Club interview and the AOC and the past weekend, I'm like, what has been the larger like legacy of the Illinois Green Party? Because I will say in every election, there's been Green Party candidates. There's always been people like in Illinois, even though it's hard for them to get ballot access, it's hard for us to get ballot access. We've done it over and over and over again, which is why it perpetually gets more and more difficult. And I'm like, but I want to like scream out to these progressive Dems who I think are not looking out for the larger collective of the left interest, but more so like their individual, more myopic view of what self-interesting can look like. I wish that they would stop putting us down and putting Greens down and putting Dr. Stein down, just yell and say, we're right here. We've always been here. We're doing these things. And I'm right here too. Like, yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I get that a lot from my progressive friends. I mean, they're concerned, rightfully, about Trump. They don't see danger in Kamala. I see it. I mean, I'm in contact with some folks in Springfield, and their police force is not good. And that's happening all over the country. I mean, it's the Democrats that are persecuting Gaza. It's the Democrats that are building cop cities. It's the Democrats that are hurting our students at colleges for peacefully protesting.
Yes. And it's the Democrats that are keeping it this complicated to changing things. Illinois is a 20-year Democratic stronghold. And, that was good for the people who changed the tides. And that felt like a brand new day. But when you get into power and you're trying to keep all that power, like it's the Democrats in our community that's making it harder for Greens to get on board. And, maybe I'll be honest. I'm not in love with the Republicans in the community either. The individual ones are fine, but the large Republican Party isn't any better, I will say. However, who's the majority party in Illinois? It's the Democrats.
Right. Exactly. And they make it incredibly hard. And then they try to sue you off the ballot when you do get on.
Which costs money. I want to take a moment and pause in my own self of it costs actual dollars of time and actual coins to do things. And I make money by the hour, and my salary was also divided by the hour. So I don't think you all understand having a lawsuit that It's not $1,000. It's not $200. It's $25,000 that you're supposed to fundraise. $25,000. If that's just for myself, if a Green Party member wasn't willing to be a pro bono like lawyer, if those didn't exist, it'd be $25,000 for the fees.
Mm-hmm.
How many hours of work? How many savings? How many years of savings is that one thing? One of the hardest, it's not one of the hardest parts. One of the most frustrating parts, though, has been trying to fundraise and saying, here, what am I going to use this money for? And now I do all of this work. I got all of these signatures. People believed in me. And now you want me to pay more money to just prove that the people who signed are people who actually signed a piece of paper. Like, I used to make $42,000 a year. And that was yesterday. And now I do this. Like, it's in real life, and that amount of money for one person, even for a group of people, is actually like inconceivably ridiculous. Like in the reality that we have,
Mm-hmm.
which is also why I'm here for election reform.
Yeah, ranked choice voting. You said there's an act. Is it in Illinois or?
No. So there is a national on Congress level act called the Ranked Choice Voting Act that was introduced by, I will give some credit. It's a cross party line. So there's some Democrats, there's Republicans, since you have to pick one or the other in Congress. And they're putting forth for this upcoming 2028 election for federal and congressional seats. So in both the primaries and the general election, would create the infrastructure, would make all of them across the country of ranked choice voting. For any of you who are watching and don't happen to know, ranked choice voting is when you have 4 or 5 people, or maybe just 2, and you rank who you want to vote for, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. In Illinois, you do not have to vote for someone. You can leave an answer blank. That's within your right. So in ranked choice voting, with that being said, you can also give no rank and not answer that question. So that's something that you can also do. You can do nothing. I think that star voting is I said a lot, but star voting is something that's also come up of like, is the next best thing. That's fine. I can't wait to get ranked choice voting. Then we can get star voting. So that way people actually want to like participate.
Why is that a good thing? How does it work to make it better?
Yeah. In ranked choice voting will make your life easier in partnership with larger election reform. I really want to stress that it has to be all of them, but I'll take one and then we can make the other ones happen too. So in ranked choice voting, it allows, one, makes it so that it's easier for ranked choice voting. And it's, when it works, imagine if like a lot, like you had multiple people who are qualified to run for a particular office. We can use my office, so Congress, everyone is 25 and older, everyone has lived there, everyone's a resident. So there's 7 of us and all of us meet the requirements. Rather than the worry that, oh, I'm one person and I have another. Okay, I guess A and B would be an easier way to describe it. Essentially, ranked choice voting allows you to pick your underdog and to pick the person that you actually want to vote for first, and then say, okay, I want that person to win. However, I don't know if they will win since they're less popular than this other candidate who has more traction. So, or if you are someone who happens to like multiple candidates, maybe you genuinely, after listening to debates, after reading people's websites, in a primary or in a general election, you say, I want my vote to be able to go to multiple people. The goal is so that way you never waste your vote. Your vote always matters. Your vote counts because it's 1 for 1. And if your first choice doesn't win, your vote then goes to your second choice, your third, your fourth, your fifth. And ranked choice voting can also set up what happens for your vote to actively go against someone you don't like. Something that has come up is, well, I don't care about anyone and I am voting in spite of somebody. So how do I vote?
I said spite.
There you go. How do you vote as a how do you do a protest vote? And so that's fair. Do that. So star voting kind of makes it easier, but the goal is ranked choice voting will also allow you to say, I want all of my votes to, or I want my vote to go to, if there's two people who get, like, after we get through the competition and there's now two people, if your vote says, I want mine to go to whoever is not this candidate,
Mm-hmm.
who gets to the top,
Right.
then you got it. Congratulations, your vote.
I mean, if it were on the national level, say, I love Jill, that's something everybody can relate to. I love Jill.
Yes.
She's my favorite. I'm going to rank her number one. I can almost tolerate Kamala sometimes, occasionally. So maybe she's number two.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's a libertarian, or maybe it's a write-in, like
Yes.
or Claudia de la Cruz. I mean, we actually get to vote for what we want instead of against what we don't want, which is how we made it here. I'm much older than you. I am Generation X, and we have been saying lesser evil since the 60s, since before I was born. And look where we are.
I'm telling you.
So, yeah, I mean, the Democrats, they promise you everything. We're going to raise the minimum wage. That didn't happen. We're gonna codify Roe v. Wade. That didn't happen. They let it slip how many times? I think they've had a supermajority 3 times since it was in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
They did nothing with it because they want to campaign on it. I'm sure you have lots of thoughts on that.
Yes, definitely. Promises after promises after promises. I was speaking with actually one of my elder sisters. I have 2, but one of them, and we were discussing about that exactly. So reproductive justice, healthcare, and she kept saying how I don't want people to be able to like coast, and I want people to work for some of the things that they're doing, and she's a Democrat, and she's going to be voting for Kamala, but she was also willing to vote for Joe Biden, and she was willing to vote for a corpse, and she accepted that truth, which tells me that she's willing to acquiesce for her current comforts to maintain the current comforts that she's actively experiencing. However, even if those comforts year after year after year are degrading, which she's able to acknowledge, she says, yes, healthcare is getting worse, but I don't want to let people I don't want to do universal healthcare simply because it means that some people are going to get like free healthcare and will somehow abuse the system, which keeps us into this. It's a positive loop of going back and forth of, yes, these are good ideas, but we're not going to use it well. So we need to temper our expectations. We need to temper our wants. We need to temper the goals that we have, because a dream is nice, but if this gets worse than it is right now, we'll get more frustrated. Man.
It's settling for less. It's settling for nothing. And if you don't see which way it's going, they are backing us up against a cliff and going, just look over here. Don't pay attention to the cliff right behind you. One more step, we're gone. And for both parties, Republicans and Democrats both, although the Democrats are in charge of handling the genocide right now, to be able to do that, what will they do here? If people think it won't come here, they're not thinking clearly.
It already has. It's also telling that it goes from private schools then to public schools. Something I noticed. So when it comes to policing, well, this is like a small thing. When it comes to policing and the crackdown on some of the college protests, it started like the escalation started at Columbia. It started at some of the other private schools, and then public schools saw what the private schools were doing and said, okay, these private schools are doing these things. Congress and state representatives are pressuring the private schools because they can't just force public schools to like crack down in this way. But then that scares the public schools to be more acquiescent.
Yeah, that makes sense because they can pull the money.
Exactly. They will use the private schools as a base to change the public law.
And to scare the public by the way the police crack down on them. I mean, these are people that are peaceful. They want peace. They didn't come to cause a ruckus. They just want to yell at you.
And they say that's violence. How, sir? How?
Yeah. So you also wanted to say, for the people that kind of feel like sitting this out, why they shouldn't?
Yes. As since I got kicked off the ballot, I have been thinking through, why be a write-in? Why push for Jill to be a write-in? Why do it in Illinois, particularly since in our state, it's a blue stronghold. The question isn't if it's on a toss-up. However, I'm realizing that this election, more than making a stance, it is making a wave to then change more things. I listen to political analyses a lot. So I'm like on the Twitter left, who I invited them to watch today. So thank you for coming by and making comments. But I thrive on this social media and being in and plugged in all the time. And I'm seeing how Michigan is no longer a strong Democrat state. It's definitely more of a toss-up. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. I was listening to this amazing political commentator who I watch named Sabrina Salvati, and she made a comment about it when she showed something with a left Democrat leaning or Democrat operative called Move On, like company of they're changing their language to reflect the seismic changes that are actually happening. And now that I see, I thought about it in my head and I was like, I want that to be the case. But now that I have proof beyond the pudding proof that Michigan is for sure, like they're counting it out. They might not say it, but the Democratic Party are counting Michigan out. That means that we could make Illinois a toss-up. Maybe not this year, but in 2 years, in 4 years, in 8 years, I want the political polling to start making the changes to the calculations. And I think and that's why I'm getting more energized, I think, even for myself, is okay, this is working. And I really want to see that happen in Illinois. So yeah. So don't sit out the election.
Voting green in Illinois, for all down ballot is very important. Vote for Miss Chibu here, absolutely. Top of the ticket, you can vote for Jill. It's not going to change anything yet, but it will build power and it will put us on the ballot for next time. I think we only need, I have to double check with Springfield, but last I heard, we only need 5% of the vote and we will be on the ballot. And then think about all that time, energy, money, fighting, stressing over getting signatures that we don't have to do, and we can campaign and get our names out there, instead of, trying to find volunteers or pay people to signature gather. And I went down to the election board because I was curious about the election judge, and I had to choose the dirty D word. I whispered it. I couldn't even say it out loud. It was so hard. I'm like, oh God. But yeah. So, we just need to get 5%. I forgot where I was going with that.
Here.
Honestly, that's my train of thought because I was devastated for them to tell me that. I just couldn't believe it. But we build power, and we will be right in there, just along with everyone else.
Yes, which is another reason why, in addition to the excellent reasons we've already stated, uh, voting down ballot and knowing that you can write us all in, and like looking to see who is running and making sure that you're voting with the people who are actually aligned with your values, it will make it, like you said, it'll make it easier for us to get onto it, and it'll make a statement, because in the next elections you'll say, yeah, I did vote green, or I wrote this person in. And people still talk about in 2016 in a positive way that they voted for Jill Stein. Like, they were so happy to have been able to vote. Okay, so many people. I voted for Jill Stein at 16. I did that. Like, but they don't see the change when you're so checked out in the election, when you're so pushed back. I wish, yeah.
Big one. Although Loud Thinker said that you are inspiring and evolution isn't the answer, revolution is. But Hernando Greens reminds me of the song Paul Simon, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. Change it to 50 Ways to Leave the Duopoly.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's a good one.
Yes. Yes, ranked choice voting, public financing of elections, reducing the amount of money that you can that can be spent in an election, making sure that only the residents that would be directly impacted by the election results should be spending money on that election. As something that I'm realizing, I think beyond APEC is a good example of why it's so pertinent for us to do it quickly in this upcoming election. But yes, the pain of watching Cori Bush, who is actually a Democratic ally of the Green Party in Missouri. They work closely together, and it was heartbreaking to see, Democrats throw out this core amazing woman who is beloved by society and is always doing something every single day, since that's something that every single person, even strangers, tell me, like, they also want me to be like Cori Bush, but now she won't be a congressperson. And that's proof in the pudding that the Democrats don't care about their base. They say they care about Black women and Black people. They don't have reparation. They don't have a Black agenda in general. They don't care about ending mass incarceration, all the things that end up being Black issues. And it obviously, yeah. Go ahead.
They didn't protect her, and they didn't protect Jamal Bowman. They actually redistrict him.
They certainly did.
So I mean, they're not our friends. They're just not. The thing I remember what I wanted to say, the signature requirements for a Democrat versus a Republican versus, they still consider us independent.
Yep.
Green Party's been around for a very long time. Or a new, it's even less for a new party. We have the most because they don't want us there. So that's I don't know, election interference in a way. I mean, why isn't it just you need a certain percent of your constituency and it should be the same across the board? Because if the Democrat in your community isn't cutting it, maybe they shouldn't be on the ballot. I don't know.
Yep. They don't want challenges and change. The best way to ensure that there's no change is to stack the rules in your favor. Make it so it's harder for your competition, and then also lie.
lie about it. Oh,
Lie.
Why didn't you win? I mean, what have you been doing for 4 years? Trying to get on the ballot?
Try to get on the ballot. You can't petition. You can't petition early. They'll give you the wrong forms. You have to get a lawyer. But yeah, changing that one at a time.
We just sit around doing nothing for 4 years. Anyway,
we just drink water. We're Earth people, remember?
Yes. Water is life. Yeah, I mean, I looked it up for Jackson County, which is where I live, and it's like 444 for Democrats, 1,000 and something for Republicans, and there's a range, and 12,000 for a new party. I think that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. And then there's a range for independent. and it's outrageous. It's like 27,000 because you know they're going to go to the high end.
Yes,
And
because
then if
they
you
will
actually get on,
find
you have to
you.
gather 3 to 4 times that. You have to go check it yourself before you turn it in, and just fingers crossed.
Which is really discouraging. And I understand that it's obvious. Like, yes, of course, it's discouraging. But I want to say to the people who maybe who have considered running for office, or who maybe don't realize what it's like, particularly in the state of Illinois, since that's where we live, and that's the context that we have to work within. It's very discouraging to spend out an entire weekend, every single hour, going out to a farmer's market, even in the rain, and going to all these events, only to then have it be crossed off because of a technicality that no one really thinks is a technicality. Like, there's not enough of an eye. The ink isn't dark enough. Like, it's not as thick as it could have been. This is outside of the lines. It doesn't help anyone, and it keeps people like me out. Ranked choice voting, another key thing that helps, is that's supposed to help, and it's not supposed to, it helps ensure that minorities, women of color like myself, people who have less money, are not kicked out of the race completely because they're able to be outspent and out campaigned by whatever machine or big money that could exist in your small local election, or and even your school board election. This way, you can, if you are an underdog, you have some kind of, like, you have some fight, and you have some meat on your bones. Like, you're able to actually do something, and you have more tangible viability with ranked choice voting. I encourage people to know all the options, and then ensure that all the options are available to you. Yeah.
Right.
It's
Yeah, I know. It's kind of crazy what they put us through. However, all of you listening, and all your friends, and you tell 2 friends, and blah 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 blah. Anybody that's my age knows what I'm talking about. Vote green, so then we don't have to do that. Be nice to us. That's hard work, and it's frustrating. I mean, I love meeting people. I've gathered signatures. It's hard work, and you get a lot of pushback sometimes, but sometimes you get people that they come out just to see you, and they're so excited that you're there to actually represent them. They're like, yes, where do I sign? I brought my husband and my son and my friend.
Everyone who's registered to vote. A part that always stays with me when I've been tabling and talking to people when I was getting signatures is, it's always this. It's like, I'm a long-term blank, but I do believe you should be on the ballot. So I'm going to sign my name so that way it's easier for you to get on the ballot. I'm not like, I think the difference between the Green Party and other parties, particularly the Democratic Party, is that I'm not going to ask you not to vote at all if you do not vote for myself, which is what is really a key difference, right? What I'm feeling right now, if I'm not voting for the Democratic option, then I shouldn't be voting, because I'm doing the world a disservice of casting a vote, even in Illinois, which, again, as a Democratic stronghold. It's that fear and consistent, and ranked choice voting allows it to change. And I really want that to continue. And in Illinois, it'll make if we keep pushing it, it'll make our voices so much louder. So many people don't actually vote since 2016.
Right.
Also telling.
A lot of people feel like they don't have anything to vote for.
Yeah.
But vote for who you want, and just see how it shakes out. Quit stressing about what other people are doing. And I know Trump is scary. Kamala is also scary, but she's more low key about it. She's terrifying to me. I'm sorry.
It's the charismatic dictator for me. I was like, dang, y'all are like, I mean, I'm sure she's a lovely person, but that's not helpful.
That's not what I've heard. I've heard her staff had to not look her in the eye, all kinds of crazy rumors. I don't know what's true or not, but you kind of get that feeling when you're in the room with her, like, how dare you speak to me? So, and Trump I think he's losing it anyway. He didn't even make sense. And what he did to Springfield, Ohio was not good. Those people are with an influx of people there just by him commenting this crazy comment, and I won't repeat it because it doesn't deserve to be repeated. But people are invading their community. It's not true. The people that are there were invited. They're legal. And they are disrupting those people's lives. So don't do that. Stay home. It's not true. Said the governor. So, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I felt defeated before, but you just can't give into that. You just have to get out and do what you can. I've been attending the weekly ceasefire protests, and those people are amazing. We're actually talking about screening where the olive trees weep. It's a Gabor Mate movie about Palestine.
Nice. We've had showings at our public library in our community. It's been very popular and a good way to engage folks who maybe don't have a sense or want a less controversial, potentially, space to learn and engage. So I do love a good movie screening that's open to the public with some popcorn, just a little bit of a snack.
Popcorn. Yes, we need to get popcorn.
I truly love popcorn, actually. It's one of my favorite things in the entire world.
Well, it's a snack you don't have to feel too bad about.
That and corn.
Loved popcorn. She was hilarious. Like, how are you even tasting that? It's like, anyway, sidebar.
Small sidebar.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to bring up to you and to our lovely viewers is the Illinois Green Party the Illinois Green Party is thinking 2024, 2026, 2028, with 2025 and 2027 in between. So there's elections that happen in Illinois every year. And that's part of why we want to get to 5% as a write-in to make it easier for people in the upcoming years. And it doesn't have to stop. So thinking about being discouraged, that's kind of where this came up from. I realized that being in community helps me see the value of electoral, politically, electoral politicking.
Yes. Yes. You have to fight on different fronts, and the electoral strategy is one of them. You protest, you call, you email, you stop buying things that support things you don't like. There's strikes that are happening because, they don't give workers what they're due ever unless they demand it. And we have to demand it at the ballot box as well. 5% means that Greens can be on the ballot, and you can learn about the candidate instead of just like this grind of trying to get ballot access for months. And I think they reduced it to 60 days for next time, which
they certainly do.
That's a lot. And I don't know who that was, but I'm sure it was a Democrat.
It was that hurts on 100 levels because yes, it was Democrats, and two, Illinois has a history of corruption, a legacy of unfortunate corruption and unethicalness. One of the things that Illinois politicians have done previously, and what they did this time, was we're going to have a bill that's like about something random. In this case, it was Crohn's Awareness Day, creating and observing a Crohn's Awareness Day, which is a disease that deserves the care and love and support of everything, which is why I believe in universal health care. Okay. And they changed the entire bill to be about the election updates. So yes, they made it 60 days from 90 days. They increase and which can be the hardest part. Also during like the rainy season of Illinois that has some snow still. And so yes, they're making it so much harder. It's frustrating.
And you can't get signatures in private spaces. You have to be in public. So you're going to be in the weather, and your petition has to be pristine and perfectly filled out. Now, how does that work? So everybody that's listening, like I said, tell all your friends, just vote green. The presidential election is not popular vote. If you vote green in Illinois, it's not going to hurt those people yet, but it will build our power until we can win. So
yes.
This
is a new piece of information, and I love learning new piece of information. Okay. Did you say that that they changed it from private spaces? So I collected signatures at someone's private residence.
Oh, at a house, yes. I mean, like corporate spaces.
Okay. Okay. That's helpful.
I went to my farmer's market.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another petitioner there recently. This is for something else, but the lady came up to me all huffy saying, I don't want you guys here. And I'm like, well, the sidewalk's public and the grass past the sidewalk between the sidewalk and the street is public. No, you have to go across the street. I'm like, well, that's the same thing. It's just the other company that's across the street, which is, businesses over there too. So if anybody gives you any hassle, I mean, that's the way it usually is.
Yeah.
From the sidewalk to the street is public. You can stand there and get signatures all day if you want. And farmers markets are really good. But just to humor her, I called the police department and asked them. And I called City Hall and talked to the guy that is in charge of that. And he said, no, that's public. And if they want to ask me a question, just here's my info. And I also had someone in my community, Luke, that's with the DSA. Shout out Luke. He's probably not listening, but maybe he will be next time. I don't know. Give me the tax assessment map. So that tells you where your private property ends. So don't let them harass you. I mean, getting it at a grocery store is a little more difficult because like Schnucks here says no. Haven't tried Kroger yet. I'm sure they'll say no. But you can stand in places that just think about where people go. Like there's going to be a hemp symposium that I want to go flyer at. There's, your ceasefire protests, churches, just stand outside the grounds as people are leaving. Just give them stuff, or give them a sign. There's a lot we can do. Oh,
we're going to keep doing it.
Witness, they wouldn't do that to you because they're so nice.
Also that
they don't participate, right? Yeah, which is their right.
Which is your right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what can people do? Where can they find you? Anything that we didn't cover? We have a little bit left, about 7-8 minutes. The floor is yours, girl. Go for it.
Thank you. Yes, if you are in Illinois, we need folks to be active and well rested. So please go into your communities and find that refreshness because your vote will make an impact this year and for the years to come. So today is National Voter Registration Day. So yes, register to vote. If you're not currently already registered to vote, go be great. I am Chibu Asonye. I am a write-in candidate. We have several write-in candidates in Illinois this year for the Green Party. And we are working with our fellows, different coalitions. So the Muslim Civic Coalition, the League of Women Voters. We have Fairville, Illinois, of people who are actively working to build up a Illinois where you feel like your vote has that impact, where you feel like your vote ends up mattering. And Edie's right. This, I've gotten myself to a point where voting for Jill Stein as president is what's going to happen regardless of the future. And I'm really happy that that's still an option. And that's going to be my saving grace, because even though president is one aspect, like it's a presidential cycle, there's a lot of other down ballot resolutions across Illinois and down ballot candidates that you can be supporting. You can find me at Chibu for Congress nationbuilder.com, and you can donate. You can donate your time, your energy. It does cost money to buy things, and I'm getting yard signs for people and mailers since October. Like you said, September 26th will be the first day that civilians can vote by mail and go to like the county clerks and stuff like that. So learn and be great. I'll be going to several upcoming events. So the Decatur Chamber of Commerce is having me this upcoming Friday, and something else is happening on Saturday. But I'm excited. So if there is, what did you say?
Aren't you going to Springfield?
Oh yeah, on Thursday to Flyer. Okay. Sorry. And I'll be going to different college campuses. So if there is a group that you want me to talk to, or if you even are curious about the larger like Green Party timeline and goals that we have for this upcoming like 10-year process, we're building up this coalition so that way in 2018, in 2028 and 2026.
Yep.
You not only will we have ranked choice voting, but all the reforms that could happen can be in process. So, yeah.
So if somebody doesn't know what their district is, how do they find out? Just Google it. Can you kind of describe the cities that are in your district?
Yes. So if you're in Illinois District 13, you're going to be in Urbana-Champaign, Savoy, Decatur, Springfield, the Metro East area, Edwardsville, including the university, down to Belleville area. So that's a like swoops down in or comes up depending on where you are in my district. We're Illinois District 13. To find out if you are in my district or not, obviously those within those areas, but you can also go to like elections.illinois.gov and type in your voter registration information, which is why you should update it today. Okay. And then you can see you don't have to be in Illinois or even in my district to help me. Social media, calling, so phone banking, calling people, fundraising, those are all things that can happen remotely. You do have to be like in the United States, but a lot like myself and the Illinois Greens are building that machine. So something small, something big can help. But yes, Chibu for Congress.nationbuilder.com is where you can to learn more about me, the platform that I have, details that are in congruency with the National Green Party and with the Dr. Jill Stein and Butch Ware team. And yes,
Rudolph,
you can learn more.
It's Rudolph if you're writing him in.
Rudolph.
Yeah. I learned that at the election board when we went this week. So it is Jill Stein and Rudolph, Rudolph.
True.
Where write in, and also Chibu Asonye if you're in District 13. Yay. Yep. And we will change things for the better. We have to build it first, though. If you build it, they will come. Right?
Agreed. If they build it, they will come. And I feel hopeful now. And I think I needed that. I needed this conversation and this past weekend to be with the Greens. Yeah. It's really easy to get deflated, particularly right now as a candidate. So it's nice to know that what I'm doing is working I feel vindicated.
Yes, yes, doing something always makes you feel better. And this is my wonderful, great friend, Yvonne Scott. So excited for you, Chibu. Great conversation.
Thank you very much.
She's my
Okay, vote green.
non-crime. I call her my brain trust. So what did I forget? And she'll tell me. Yeah, we all need people like that in our lives. So, well, thank
Yeah.
you for joining us. We'll be back next Tuesday. And thank you, Chibu, for being here. And go
Thanks
green.
for having me. Go green.
Bye, you guys. 3, 2, 1.